Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Andy's Shed Live. This is series 18, number 4 for Sunday the 7th of September 2025. Hello and welcome to the show. It is 7 o'clock and we're, well, almost on time for once. Almost, not quite, but almost. Yeah, welcome to the show. Fourth one, again. Weeks are just flying along, aren't they? And I can see we've got one or two of you in the chat there today. Let's have a look, see what you're all up to. I'll say all the regulars. Say hello to Jo, who's in the chat. Joanna Batten, as she is in the chat there. Says, hi Andy, great to see you earlier because she was at Hedge Windmill today. If you've forgotten, we were at Hedge Windmill today. She says, I also found Bowman and Kirkland's offices that she was looking for. Literally the big office just across the road from Hedge Windmill. So yeah, not far away. We have been up to Hedge Windmill to their autumn track today. Yeah, no wind, unfortunately. Hedge Windmill has stopped today due to the fact there was no wind, which is the big problem with windmills, isn't it, Mr. Miliband? Yeah, he's not thought of that, has he? So yeah, not much milling was going on. It was going around when we sort of got there this morning, but it soon stopped and never restarted again, mainly because there wasn't a breath of wind. So they've not actually made much flour at Hedge Windmill today, maybe a little bit this morning. Who else have we got with us? Dominic is with us. Neville is oh, I've got to say hello to Joe's mum as well. When she saw me earlier, she said my mum watches every week, so hello to Joe's mum if you're watching. We've got Dominic with us, we've got Neville with us. Dominic says, did you see my email about the trip to Santoff Trolley Museum? I've seen it, but only on my phone, Dominic. So I've got to actually open it on a browser where I can properly read it, because it just does first little bit of it on my phone. Christopher is with us. Hi, Christopher. He says, do you know how to fix an old GPO line cord with an old 1970s plug on the end? Because I got what not working now, what worked before. Right, somebody will translate that for me, I'm sure. Hi Andy, do you know how to fix the old GPO line cord with old 1970s plug on the end? Because I got what not working now, what worked before. So something's not working now that did work before. Do you mean one of those with a like the sort of plug you plug into an electric guitar, sort of thing, similar sort of thing, a 1/4-inch jack sort of thing. Is that what you mean, Christopher? Has it got one of them on the end with about 5 or 6 different sections on it? Because if it's one of those, I believe they unscrew, so you can get to the solder terminals inside them. I believe I've not got one to hand, but I think they unscrew. Dominic says Santoff was great. It's amazing just how quiet trolley buses are. Yeah, they are fairly quiet. Well, they're electric vehicles, aren't they? So they're like modern electric cars, really. It's the same sort of idea, except trolley buses don't generally suffer with flammable batteries, unlike electric cars. Christopher says, yes Andy, that plug. Yeah, I think it unscrews, Christopher. Get hold of the main body of it, then get hold of the bit where the cord goes into it is just a little bit wider. So hold the main body with something, then hold the bit where the cord screws in and try and unscrew that, and I think you'll find it unscrews. Dominic says, we also went on a vintage South Yorkshire transport bus around Epworth, which is famous for another Wesley. Another Wesley? In Epworth? Who's in Epworth then? Got no idea. Where have I Why can I still hear music? Oh, hang on. Hang on. I know what's happening. Just bear with me a sec. Right. That's better. That's better. Right, that's a bit more sensible now. I know what's going on now. Chris said, did you see my email of inspection comment trains locos? No, I've not seen that one, Christopher. When did you send it? Because no, the answer is no, I've not seen that one. I shall have a look at some point through my backlog of emails. The problem is I get so much spam email that every now and again when I'm deleting my spam I accidentally delete one I shouldn't have. Dominic says, Epworth is famous for John Wesley, who started the Methodist movement, as in Wesleyan Chapel. Is that? Well, I didn't know that. I've learnt something new there. You learn stuff on here. You say Sunday night. You think you're just surfing YouTube for a couple of hours on a Sunday night, you know, because there's nothing on telly and that. But you actually learn stuff on here. Yeah. Christopher says, I sent that email last week. I'll send it again. Yeah, send it again, Christopher. I may have accidentally deleted that one. I'm afraid it happens occasionally. Right, have I caught up? I think I've just about caught up. We've got like a full house again tonight, haven't we? In this chat, I'm still trying to work out what all these little crown things are all about. Does anybody actually know? Still trying to work out what they're for. Are they clickable? They are clickable. Top fans, it says. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, but why? What relevant? What is it? What is it to do with the number of comments? Is it? I don't get it at all. That I don't understand that at all. YouTube's doing a load of weird stuff. I'm not best pleased with YouTube today because I've got a Samsung not so smart TV, and it's got the YouTube app on it. It's about the only app on it that still works after about 10 years. And last night they've done some sort of update, and it wouldn't let me watch a video last night without logging in. And I absolutely refuse to log into YouTube because I don't want Google knowing who I am and where I am and all my data and that. So basically I dumped YouTube last night and went back to watching normal telly, and it's only then that you realise how god awful normal television is. Let me tell you. Gee, what? I don't know what I ended up watching. Yeah. Oh dear me. Yeah. Oh dear God. Why do we pay the BBC a licence fee when they turn out such dross these days? I was reduced to ITV2, watching repeats of Family Guy on ITV2. That's what I was reduced to last night. Christopher says, I just sent the email again of the train. Dominic says, there were lots of emergency service vehicles when I visited. Alright, maybe it was emergency services day or something. I see a fire service tractor today. A tractor that said had fire service on it. I thought, if your house is burning down, you don't really want them coming in a tractor, do you? You know, it's not the speediest of vehicles when there's an emergency, but I don't know the story behind it. I really don't know the story behind it. I'm trying to read this. I think the writing's got smaller on this. Either that or my eyes have got older. Christopher says, I also found a 746 Mark 1 phone that I forgot I had. Yeah, that happens to me all the time, Christopher. I keep finding ones I've forgotten I've got. Yeah, yeah. I just keep finding stuff, stuff that I knew I had, then I forgot I had and misplaced, and then I find it again sometime later. It's like Christmas every day. Dominic says, there was even a demonstration of putting out a fire by the old trolleybus shed. They didn't actually set the trolleybus shed on fire, did they? They did it once at Christ. The emergency services people came with all their old fire engines, and they set the offices at Christ on fire, which is a little stone cottage called Poplar House, and they didn't actually set it on fire, but they were pretending they had set it on fire, and all the fire engines came running down the street, and over the cobblestones at Christ, plugged in all these hose pipes and that, started drenching Poplar House with water, and promptly blew all the pointing out from between the stones of Poplar House. The TMS were not happy. Oh, Bills is with us. Evening, Bills. Yeah, there's some power behind them water cannon things in a fire engine, isn't there? A lot of power behind them. But why was there a fire service tractor at Heege today? What on earth would the fire service want with a tractor? I've got no clue. Unless somebody did it as a joke, of course. Like the hilarious Royal Snail van that I saw a couple of weeks ago. Somebody's got an ex-post office mail van, and instead of Royal Mail, it now says on it Royal Snail. Look out for it. I think was it a Citroen? Was it Citroen Berlingover? Royal Snail. I thought it was quite funny. Dominic says, the conductor on the trolleybus I was on told me they wanted to buy the Alan Bradley tram from Blackpool Transport, but it was in worse shape than the tram they eventually bought. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think the one that they bought is in terribly good shape. The trouble with the Alan Bradley one is it was stored outside for quite a long time. But because Fleetwood Leisure Trust got hold of it, and although they had marvellous intentions, none of it actually came to fruition, and all the stuff that they'd acquired ended up rotting away in a yard in Fleetwood, and some of it ended up being scrapped as well. So the Alan Bradley tram was actually quite a lucky survivor, and it's now gone back to Blackpool. It's I don't quite know who owns it, but it's in Rigby Road Depot, what they now call Tramtown. It's a silly name. I've always said it's a silly name. It should be called Rigby Road Depot, because that's what it is. Get used to it, people. It's only been there for 120 years. You'd think they'd know what it's called by now, wouldn't you? Bill says, Andy, I bought a Jade Green Ivory 300 series, painted a 164 handset, Jade Green. I bought a Jade Green Ivory 300 series. Is it just me, or is this not making sense tonight? I bought a Jade Green Ivory 300 series, painted a 164 handset, Jade Green, with impulsive paint. Impulsive paint? That's impressive, impulsive paint. That's impulsive paint like. Yeah. I'm going to dry now. I'm going to dry now. Is that impulsive paint? What are your thoughts? Very cheap, as I just got the body. But Jade Green Ivory 300 series. So is it ivory, Bills? What colour is it then in actual fact? What colour is it underneath? What actual colour is it made out of? Is it ivory or is it jade green? Whichever you've done, if it's a genuine one and it's cheap, you've done quite well. You've done quite well if it's ivory, you've done very well if it's jade green. You'd have done superbly well if it was red. Oh, so it's jade green. I bought a jade green 300 series, painted a 164 handset jade green with impulsive paint. What are your thoughts? So you've painted a handset green to match the jade green body that you've got. Is that right? I've got to wait a minute now because there's a delay on it. You've painted a black handset green to match the jade green body of the phone that you've got. Is it just the body that you've got, or is it the entire phone minus the handset? Because what I'm about to say is, what I'm about to say is, if it's just the actual casting of the body, it may be an Indian one. Yeah, it may be. If it's just the body, it may be Indian. Because they made them in all kinds of colours. And is there a way of telling if you've just got the body and you've not got the base plate or anything? Possibly is the answer to that. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, you can possibly tell. Spoon Tricks is here. Hey, Spoony. Andy, I had a dream last night that I was opening a box full of old dumb mobile phones from the 2000s. I think it's a sign that I should stop collecting phones for a while. Was it a dream or was it a nightmare? Bill said, no, it's stamped GPO underneath and it's all there. So so then, Bills, what you've got is a jade green 300 series phone with no handset that you've had to paint a black handset green to match. Is that what we're saying? It's kind of the wrong way round, really, because they didn't have green ones with black handsets, but they did have black ones with green handsets. So if you've got the green handset, you could legitimately put that on a black phone, but you can't legitimately put a black handset on a green phone. Because in wartime, I think there's some in Churchill's war rooms in London, if you go there, there's black ones with green and red and ivory handsets on them for different things. Christopher said, all my old phones are wired the old-fashioned way. Yeah, it's probably better actually, Christopher. I never entirely trust the new way of wiring things. New way, he says. Although it's been around since the 80s. I never entirely trust it because when you're pushing those wires into those little like blade connector things, I never entirely trust that they've actually cut through the insulation and made contact. In fact, sometimes they haven't. But yeah, Bills, if you've got a jade green 300 series, you've done quite well. If it was cheap, be careful because it's probably made out of Diacon. I think the green ones were Diacon, so it'll break in the same way that glass breaks if it gets knocked or anything. You know, you chip bits out of it quite easy. Bill says, "Yeah, Andy, that's right." I said, "I got the jade green body, so I just had to get paint identical. The scrambled telephone, and for the royal family scrambled telephone, had a jade green handset and a black body. Yeah, that's right. I think that's what I'm thinking of in the Churchill's War Rooms. Spoonie says, was certainly a nightmare because most of these phones that I dreamt about were only parts, and I was thinking to myself that I don't know what to do with them. What if they were mobiles? I suppose there'd been somewhere around. Yeah, I don't do mobiles. So somebody out there will be collecting mobile phones, won't they? Somebody will be collecting mobile phones. People collect all sorts of things. I think you can pick up an item, any item, and there will be somebody out there who collects them. There will be somebody out there who collects them. Whatever it may be. I was told today about somebody who collects spark plugs. Not entire engines, just spark plugs. Bill said, did everyone in the UK get the 3 PM alert? It was hilarious, the 3 PM alert. Not everybody got it at the same time. I'll tell you that. Some were 10 minutes behind others. So, given that you get a 3-minute warning if somebody launches a nuclear bomb, and some of the alerts were 10 minutes behind, don't think it's terribly useful. But also, it wasn't very loud. And does it work if your phone's off? If your phone's switched off, does it override it and come on again? And if it does override it and come on again, that's a bit scary, because that means when your phone is switched off, it's not actually switched off, doesn't it? It's a bit like the Google Home things that allegedly don't listen to you. Google say, oh, those Google Pebbles, they don't listen to your conversations. They don't start listening until you say, hey Google. Well, if they don't start listening until you say, hey Google, how do they know when you've said, hey Google? Suspect. I'm very suspect of everything Google's doing these days. Why did they want me to sign into YouTube yesterday? Very suspect of Google. I'm thinking it might be time to de-Google myself. And also, Lewis Rossman on YouTube, the brilliant Lewis Rossman. The only person on YouTube who's more sweary than I am. That's saying a lot. But he put out a video the other day that said you're not allowed to sideload stuff onto Android phones anymore with the latest updates. So everything that you download onto your Android phone has to come via the Google Play Store. And of course some things aren't in the Google Play Store. So he's not happy about that. So I reckon it's time to un-Android your phone and run a different operating system on it. I am certainly going to be looking into it. Why can't we just have a Linux phone? There's been talk about that for years and years and years, and as far as I know, it's never actually happened. But an open source Linux phone would be brilliant. Dominic says, I didn't get the alarm. Oh well, you're a victim of nuclear annihilation then, I'm afraid, Dominic. Christopher says, here in Collingwood, I heard an air raid siren going off at 2 AM tonight. An air raid siren. So there's somebody else in the city besides you, Christopher, with an air raid siren. You ought to set yours off. Replied to it. Bill says, that was a bit scary, Christopher. What was the siren for? Yeah, what was the siren for? Yeah. I want to know how many people have had this alert today in the UK and not realised it's a test and gone all panicky War of the Worlds style. But it was just... I thought your phone was going to make a really loud noise, you know, because they said it was going to make a really loud sort of alerty sort of noise. I thought it was going on, whoa, whoa, whoa. You have 3 seconds to live, but no, it didn't. It was just like a slightly different ringtone. That's all it was. It wasn't particularly loud or anything. And then it starts talking to you. Then it says, "This is a government alert," or words to that effect. And the moment it says, "This is from the UK government," I think, yeah, all right, not interested in that. Not interested in that, because that means it's from Keir Starmer, and anything he's got to say is complete BS. So there you go. Dominic says, you would have liked the Blues and Twos event at Santoft, Christopher. They had a World War II air raid siren there. Yeah, they have got one, I think, haven't they? Yeah. I want to know where all the air raid sirens went. Given that there must have been thousands upon thousands upon thousands of them in World War II. And in real terms, World War II is not that long ago. Where did all the air raid sirens go? Because I know where there's 1, 2, 3, 4 and the remnants of another one. So five in total. And I can't think of any more. So where are they? Oh, there used to be one at Colite Works here as well, that they used in case of a chemical spill. But Colite Works is no longer there. It was flattened, and they said they couldn't build anything on it for 100 years. We all went, whoopee, but now they've built massive, great big industrial units on it about 5 years after they flattened it. So, only 95 years early. If you're going to work in one of those industrial units, congratulations. Your workplace cancer is sponsored by Colite Chemicals Limited. Bill says, the only thing I can think of, Andy, is they use spare parts of the air raid sirens, but I don't see many of that either. No, I want to know where they are. I want to know where all the air raid sirens went. Christopher says, I think it was a fire brigade test siren on top of the station, but why do it at 2 a.m? Maybe it wasn't a test, Christopher. Maybe they were needed to get people. Why is there a siren on top of the fire station then? So the firemen know to come running to the fire station because they've got a shout. Is that it? Perhaps they've not invented cell phones yet there. Dominic says, I think there's possibly an air raid siren on the roof of one of the London terminal stations. Well, one of the ones that I'm thinking of in my 5 is near Waterloo, on a pole near Waterloo station. It's like on top of a tramway traction pole in the street, near, but not at, but near to Waterloo station. And it's like a pole in the street, you know, about 20 foot high, and then it's got something that looks like an air raid siren on the top of it. So that's one of the 5 that I'm counting. And there's the remains of one, I believe, on a roof in Sheffield. Then Santoft have got one, Christopher's got one, and there's one in a shed at the East Anglia Transport Museum at Colton Colville as well. And that's the 5 that I know of. But they do pop up, the hand-cranked ones. The little hand-cranked ones do pop up on eBay occasionally, but they usually fetch crazy money. Spoon Trick says it might be a Cold War holdover if it's on the fire station. Yeah, was Australia involved in the Cold War? Don't know about that. Dominic says that might be that siren on the pole might be the one I'm thinking of, or possibly at Paddington. I don't know about that one, Dominic. There must be quite a few around in London if you knew where to look. There must be some rooftops in London that have still got them on, but it's just that you don't know where to look for them necessarily. Christopher says the siren, yes Andy, it's for firemen to call the firemen to the station and for bushfire warning, but the tone I heard was the all clear tone. Maybe it'll yeah, but like I say, why test it at 2 o'clock in the morning? If you're going to test it, you'd test it with the all clear tone, wouldn't you? Because you wouldn't want to test it with the panic now tone, because people would. So if you're going to test it, you'd test it with the all clear tone. And I think the all clear tone, basically, you just turn it on, don't you, and leave it. If it's like a World War II siren in the UK, the "oh shit, the Germans are coming" tone was like whoa, 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 and basically all they're doing is turning it on and off again and turning it on and off again, and it's spinning up and spooling down and spinning up and spooling down. And then the all clear was just a continuous tone where they just turn it on and then go for a sandwich. Or a cup of tea, as they would have done, I guess, in World War II. Have a nice cup of char now Jerry's gone. Spoon Trick says it's in Australia. It might be kangaroo raids. Yeah, do you think you have air raid sirens? Panic! The kangaroos are coming. Could be worse. It could be Keir Starmer coming. Yeah. We're going to send him to Australia, yes. That's a good idea, isn't it? Send Keir Starmer to Australia. No, what have the Australians ever done to us? Dominic says, my parents say that the very first house we lived in Muswell Hill, still had an Anderson shelter in the garden. When my parents sold the house, the new owners scrapped it. That's a shame. The air raid shelters, I know what happened to a lot of the air raid shelters, because the tin ones were taken away at the end of the war. The ones that were made out of like wiggly tin. You know, they came round and collected them up and took them all away. Or a lot of them. Some people rebuilt them above ground and put brick ends in them and used them as garden sheds. And I didn't know where there was one of those that was done like that. But a lot were collected up after the war. The ones that weren't collected up were the ones where people had concreted them in and things. And I have seen a couple in people's gardens where they'd like built the air raid shelter, then poured loads of concrete over the top of it, and of course I've made a proper job of that then. You know, there's no way that's coming out of your garden ever again. And people have built like rockeries on top of them and stuff like that. Best thing I've ever seen on TV, one of my favourite things ever on TV, was one of these things where, I'm sure I've told this story before, but for the benefit of those who haven't heard it, it was one of these things where they'd get a family and take them back in time, and they have to live how they would have lived going back in time. I think it was Back in Time for Dinner. I think it may have been Back in Time for Dinner, the one that was kind of foodie orientated. And they got this family. It might have been that one, it might not have been. But it was one of these things where they get a family and then they put them in a house that's retrofitted to be like back in time. They have to live for like a month or 6 months or something, as you would have lived in 1930s or 1940s England or whatever. And what they did a wartime one. And the first thing that happened was there was a knock on the door and somebody delivered an Anderson shelter in kit form, you know, all the wiggly tin, and instructions on how to put it together. And the man of the house had to go out into the garden with a spade and dig a big hole, and because you build them half buried, and then you sort of dig a hole that they'll go half into and erect your Anderson shelter, and then the soil that you took out of the hole that you've dug, that it's gone half into, you then put that on the top. So there is a mound in your garden where the Anderson shelter is, but there's a lot of soil on top of it. And people used to grow plants on that on top of them. There's lots of stories about people building rockeries and things on top of them and stuff like that. But the thing about this was done for this TV programme, and the guy went out into the garden with his shovel and followed the instructions and dug the hole and put this Anderson shelter in. Then what the TV people did was, the following day they said, oh, you're going on a charabanc trip to the coast as a treat. So they all get ready in the sort of 1940s gear. Of course, they probably wouldn't have had a trip to the coast in wartime, but anyway, they needed to get them out of this house. They needed to get the family out of this house, so they took them on this charabanc trip to the coast. And while they did it, some special effects people came along and dug 2 trenches at either side of this Anderson shelter. And into these trenches they dropped the biggest speakers you have ever seen in your life. You know, things that make the speaker stack at Glastonbury look small. And they dropped them into these holes at either side of this Anderson shelter. Then covered them up. There must have been some sort of special speaker, you know, that was waterproof and stuff, and they just totally buried them, and you couldn't see that they'd been there. Then the family came back and went to bed, and then, of course, in the middle of the night they set off an air raid siren somewhere. So the family then went into this Anderson shelter, and while the family were in this Anderson shelter, they played sound effects through these speakers of bombs dropping. Of course, these big speakers, anybody who's ever been up close to a big speaker at a pop concert knows how they vibrate that. And of course, they boom, boom, these speakers that are about that far away from on the other side of this tin wall. And there were things falling off the shelves in the Anderson shelter just by the power of the speakers. And of course, they didn't know how they were doing it because they'd not seen. The BBC really blowing up the street, and while they were in this Anderson shelter, a props crew, a set decoration crew, came into the house and took all the things out of the house and replaced them with broken ones. And this house had been specially rigged, and some of the non-structural bits of this house, and bits of wall and that weren't actually structural, they'd like took bits of wall out that weren't structural in some way, and then rebuilt them with old bricks, but not put any cement in the mortar. They'd just done it with sand, so they could like lean on a wall and knock the wall out of the house. Which they did do. And all the windows were sugar glass, and they just went round with the hammer and went dish 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 and broke all the windows. So this family comes out having been shook up by these speakers, the Anderson shelter, and they find they've only got like half a house, and all the tiles have gone off the roof, and there's big holes in the walls, and all the windows are broken, everything's upside down. I'll never ever forget their faces. You could tell they'd done that for real. You could tell they'd really done that to them. And was it Back in Time for Dinner? Or was it one of the others? It was one of those things anyway, and it was so good how they did it. So good that. But yeah. Dominic says, I think I've seen that on YouTube. It was the 70s episode. No, it wasn't. It was wartime, Dominic. Unless we're talking at cross purposes here. No, it was wartime. It was wartime when what they did it in. They did it as 1940 something. Christopher says, all around Australia and the outback, all the fire stations have air raid sirens for the fire call known as bushfire warnings. That's like in America, in places like Alabama. I've got a friend out in Alabama, and of course that's Tornado Alley, and they have air raid sirens there as tornado warnings. Yeah, and if you want to see something that is destructive, you want to see what a tornado does. It is unreal what a tornado does. Yeah, it just like totally flattens everything, and I mean flattens it a lot. Dominic says, I think that programme you're on about was a series that did several decades. Yeah, I think it did, Dominic. I think it did a different decade every week. I think it started at like 1900 and it went up to about 1980, I think. Yeah, I think it did. That's why I think it's Back in Time for Dinner. Because Back in Time for Dinner did that. Yeah. Well, there was a version of that not far away from me. Back in Time for the Corner Shop, which was a later series where a family had a corner shop. That was actually filmed in Sheffield. I've been to the shop. It's actually now a very pretentious coffee shop, which is hilarious because it's in a bit of Sheffield where nobody's got two brass farthings to rub together, so I'm sure they don't sell many £5 coffees in that shop. Well, there you go. Christopher says, Andy, Australia was part of the Cold War and still are the way it is now. Right. He says, we have tornadoes here in Australia too. Do you really? Oh, I didn't know that. We have tornadoes in Australia. Never seen a tornado in Australia. Didn't know that. See, I tell you learn stuff on here. Yeah. The question is, was it Back in Time for Dinner where they dropped the bomb on those people? Yeah. Back in Time for Dinner is also the one where they gave a woman and her two teenage daughters a larder full of food, all in tin cans and a can opener, and none of them could operate a manual can opener. You know those that you just stick it in the tin and go well, they gave them one of them, and you should have seen them trying to open the tin. It's one of the funniest things I've seen on television. I've got no idea how they edited that. No. When they were sat editing that footage, whoever edited that must have been rolling with laughter. Absolutely rolling. Christopher said, and if you search on YouTube, you will see an Australian tornado. Yeah, be careful out there, Christopher. Maybe that's why you think we're going off then at 2 o'clock in the morning. Maybe there was a tornado. Is it? Are you in the path of tornadoes? Do you have the right sort of climate there, Christopher, for tornadoes in your bit of Australia? Because it all depends on what your climate's like, doesn't it? It has to be fairly warm and wet, I think, for tornadoes. You are killing my planet! Stop it! Stop it! Shut up, Greta. It says tornadoes haven't happened in Melbourne. Yeah, they've not happened in Bolsover either. Tornado hit Bolsover to do about £350 million worth of improvements. Bill says, Andy, I completed my talk, if you remember me saying, to Stoke Newington History Society. The full 25-minute talk is on YouTube. Excellent, Bills. Send me a link to it. I don't think you can put the links in the chat, Bills, but send me a message, andy@coldpress.net, CALLPRESS, andy@coldpress.net, and send me the link to it, Bills, and I'll put the link on next week. Dominic says, have you seen Greta's new haircut? Looks like Jimmy's. I was about that end. Yeah, I have actually. I did have a little chuckle about that. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Greta Thunberg. Can't say anything about Greta Thunberg, can I? Because yes, I can. She's an arse. Yeah. No, hurty words, hurty words. Oh, there'll be 3 armed policemen around now. Just call Greta Thunberg an arse. You know the 3 armed... When the 3 armed policemen met Graham Linehan at the airport this week, do you think he told him to fuck off? You've got to be a Father Ted fan to get that. 3 armed policemen meeting Graham Linehan. If you've ever seen or even met Graham Linehan, you will know there is nobody who needs 3 armed policemen to meet him less than Graham Linehan. He's about as threatening as a strawberry. Dominic says, Greta's haircut looks like He-Man. I can't really talk about haircuts, can I? But yeah, it is true. It is true. She has got a haircut that makes her look like He-Man. Yeah. He was a preachy whining git as well, wasn't he? He-Man. Can you remember the end of the He-Man cartoons? And all. Well, I hope you've learned this lesson, children. Yeah. He was really preachy, wasn't he, He-Man? Can you remember? Yeah. I was never a fan of He-Man. What was the best cartoon? Right on, Dragon. Yeah, I think the best cartoon. Well, from the olden days, it's got to be Scooby-Doo, hasn't it? The original proper Scooby-Doo before Scrappy-Doo got involved. You know, when it was all of them. You know, before it would, because eventually it was just like Scooby, Scrappy, and Shaggy, wasn't it? Eventually, but when it was all of them going around in the Mystery Machine. Yeah, Scooby-Doo. Bill says, I sent you that email, Andy, with the link. It will be great to get your feedback, everyone, but please be kind. We'll see what we can do, Bills. Yeah, I'll find it in a bit. Yeah. Yeah, Scooby-Doo. Quite like the Scooby-Doo films as well. Yeah. Quite like Scooby-Doo films. It's not true. I don't like the Scooby-Doo films because Sarah Michelle Gellar's in them. It's not true. The Scooby-Doo films stand on their own right without Sarah Michelle Gellar. They're not as good, but they're... Dominic says, I remember having Thundercats on videotape. Thunder, 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 Thundercats. That was the same people that made He-Man, wasn't it, that made Thundercats? Yeah, they did Tarzan, He-Man, She-Ra, and Thundercats, I believe. I quite like Battle of the Planets as well. Although Battle of the Planets was actually 2 cartoons put together, wasn't it? Battle of the Planets is quite violent and sweary when you see the proper Japanese version of Battle of the Planets. And they cut all the violence and all the swearing out of it, and then they realised it was too short, so they had to make the bits with the little computer guy in the undersea control centre thing. The BBC added those bits in because they chopped so much out of the original cartoon. But yeah, I like Battle of the Planets. Bill says, I liked the cartoon on Saturday morning with my cereal watching Scooby-Doo. Was Scooby-Doo on a Saturday morning? I don't remember Scooby-Doo being on a Saturday morning. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? Righto, Rosie. Thundercats on videotape, my God. Videotape. Those were the days. Those were the days. I like Family Guy now. I think Family Guy is hilarious. It never stops being funny, Family Guy. Seth MacFarlane is one of the funniest people on the face of the planet. Everything that man does or says is funny. Bill says, you meddling kids. Yeah. Right, here's one for you while we're on about cartoons and Scooby-Doo and things. Can anybody remember a rip-off Scooby-Doo called Goober and the Ghost Chasers? Where it was a green dog that wore a red and white striped woolly hat. And I don't know if it was another Hanna-Barbera thing or not. It was like Hanna-Barbera. If it wasn't Hanna-Barbera, it was a really good rip-off because it was like them. But yeah. Yeah, and he talked a bit like Snagglepuss as well. Dominic says, my mum says when I was little I watched Mega Machines on repeat until the tape wore out. Literally walked through the videotape. Yeah. Oh yeah. Mega Machines. I don't think I've ever seen that one. Don't think I've ever seen that one. Yeah, as I had to watch terrestrial television last night, I thought, why are they still making terrestrial television and making all this shit on television? Why don't they just put on the things that used to be on years ago? Because they were way better. So assuming they've not wiped all the tapes, looking at you, BBC, assuming they've not wiped all the tapes, why don't they put them things back on? Why don't they put the Great Egg Race back on? It looks like the Great Egg Race, the Adventure Game. Yeah, there used to be some really good things. Great Egg Race, the Adventure Game, Treasure Hunt, Annika Rice jumping in and out of helicopters. Yeah, absolutely. I'm only 2 steps removed from the guy who created Treasure Hunt, it turns out. Because today I have actually seen a chap who knows the creator of Treasure Hunt today. Created and made for this country by a fella called Malcolm Hayworth, who owned a company called Chatsworth Television, which is, I believe it's now defunct because he's going on a bit now, is Malcolm, but yeah. Yeah, and the Crystal Maze, that was Chatsworth Television as well, Dominic, yeah. Chatsworth Television, they did some real... Everything Chatsworth Television did was good. They did Treasure Hunt, they did Crystal Maze, and my personal favourite, Interceptor, which was a kind of cross between Treasure Hunt and a Lara Croft film, which strangely had Annabelle Croft jumping in and out of the helicopters. Bill says, I liked Crystal Maze. Yeah, the original version with Richard O'Brien. The reboot with him out of the IT crowd, not so much. But the original one, Richard O'Brien, I thought Richard O'Brien was brilliant on Crystal Maze. Really good. Yeah. Dominic says Jungle Run. Yeah, I don't think I ever watched Jungle Run. There used to be a thing called On Safari, a kids version called On Safari. I don't think I ever watched Jungle Run. Bill says, Deal or No Deal is back with Stephen Mulhern currently. Yes, Bills, I found that out last night because when I had to watch terrestrial television last night, I fell asleep watching it and I woke up at 2 o'clock this morning with Stephen Mulhern doing Deal or No Deal, and a little man in the corner doing sign language. I thought I was having some kind of nightmare. But no, apparently that really exists on ITV2 about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. Christopher says, Andy, have you seen the 746 phone from 1971 with the private dial bezel on before? No. You mean the one with just the numbers on, Christopher? No, I haven't. What it will be, it will not be a GPO phone. It will be a private phone that's got GPO markings on it because they just took it off the production line and sold it privately. So that's what it'll be, because this has come up before, that there's private phones with GPO markings on. And I think what they did, they just got a production line and somebody sat there stamping GPO onto them, or onto components, and they go, oh, this company's ordered 50 phones to go on their private exchange in their basement, and we've only got 45 in stock, so can we nick 5 off that production line where they're making 10,000 for the GPO? Yes, we'll pinch them 5 and sell them to these people here. So I think that's what happens. Yeah, so I think that's what that is there, Christopher. Or it could be an N1900, but I don't think they would have been marked GPO, and they would definitely say N1900 underneath them, because Ericsson were more organised than some of the other manufacturers. They didn't actually stamp N1. Well, they normally sort of melted N1900 into them underneath. It's not kind of melted in or engraved into them normally. Dominic says, I've got a GEC 746 style phone, a private one that has an alphanumeric bezel, interestingly. Apparently hotels like to have alphanumeric bezels on their clone phones. Yeah, I think you could have it as an option. I think you could have it as an option on N1900s, but not many people did. Christopher says, it looks like a GEC phone. It probably is, Christopher. It's probably something similar to the one that's on the desk here. I can't. Can I show you it? No, I can't, because I've not got a camera pointing at it. But the black one that's on the desk here, that you've seen it before. Yes. There's all sorts of oddities out there. The problem is, with all the bits being interchangeable now, you never know quite who's sort of took a bit off that and a bit off that and put them bits together, and it's really, really hard to work out now what is as it should be and what's been messed with. Really hard to work out. So yeah, it's either a bit of Christopher, or like I say, it's one that's been pulled off the production line that was making a big batch for the GPO, just to sort of fill a gap in a private order. But we do know that used to happen. We've got evidence from things before of that happening. We've found phones from private operations. You know, we found phones from they've got like telephone rentals sticker on the outside, but you open them up and it says GPO on the capacitors inside them and things like that, and there would never have been a GPO phone, but they just used bits that have been marked for the GPO. So yeah, that does happen occasionally. But yeah, well, you have to be very careful with eBay, because you don't know what is what these days on eBay. There are some very dishonest sellers on eBay. Right, it seems to have stopped. The chat's really been going quite well today. It's been moving. Sometimes it freezes up, and other times it it keeps moving. But, it's not been doing too badly today. So yeah, we've got all sorts. But yeah, what is this one down here? This is. Oh, this is a private. This is an all-round private phone. This one's been sat down at the side of me here for months. See, that's a green one, a private one, as opposed to a GPO one. Generally, the GPO ones have letters and numbers around here, and the ones that were not GPO ones, that were on a private system, like in a factory or something, just have numbers. In general, although there are exceptions to that rule, which is what makes it complicated. Christopher says, Andy, I found some information on N1900 phones. They're supplied to the public use on the GPO with alphanumeric bezels, but it was only done in the early 1960s. N1900s. Well, that would have been, they would have been 706s then. Well, some models of N1900 are identical to a 706. So, yes, I can see how it might have happened. Dominic says, is Facebook Marketplace good for phones, or is it as bad as Fleabay? It depends. The thing about Facebook Marketplace, you need to be near enough to go and actually collect them, Dominic. But I have bought things off Facebook Marketplace, and generally it's often cheaper than if you bought it off Fleabay. I think a lot of people are now not listing stuff on Fleabay since they've changed it, because they've made a lot of changes, and basically Fleabay now inflate the price that you're asking for with this thing they call the buyer protection fee, which doesn't actually protect the buyer at all. So a lot of people have just said, you know something, I can't be bothered with Fleabay messing about anymore, I'm just not going to do it anymore. Christopher says, Andy, I have an identical phone to your green phone, but mine's a 1970B. N197B. I don't know what that one is, Christopher. It's not an Ericsson. I know that. It's not an Ericsson, it's somebody else's. But yeah, I have, like I say, I have done stuff on Marketplace. I've bought stuff off Marketplace, but you need to buy it from somebody local so you can actually go and collect it and that, and then generally it's alright. Generally it's alright. Just I send them a message first, go, is it still available? Because a lot of people sell stuff and then don't actually take the thing down off a Marketplace. That's one of the main problems with it, that you're actually inquiring about an item that was like sold last week and stuff like that. So yeah, but it requires Facebook, and you have to log into Facebook as now, and there's like compulsory two-factor authentication on Facebook now, and it's such a faff to log in that I just don't bother anymore. I just don't bother with it anymore. You know, I hate two-factor authentication. A username and a password should be enough. I can remember my usernames and passwords. I can keep my usernames and passwords safe. If they say, oh, you need two-factor authentication to be extra safe, that's not my problem. That's the problem of the people running the website who can't keep your data safe. You know, so why should I have to remember all this of logging in my phone to bloody logging on my computer and that. I just can't be bothered with it. You know, go to your phone and find the passcode and then come back and type it into your computer. You know something? Life's too short. I'll tell you what, I'll go and do something else instead and not bother visiting your website anymore. As I said to Josie earlier, said, why do you not reply to me on Facebook anymore? I said, well, it's because I've not actually logged into Facebook in about 3 years. So if you sent me a message on Facebook, you know, it's probably there, but I've not seen it. Because I think social media is a bit of a fad, really, and people get fed up of it and move on. Because a few years ago, everybody had a MySpace page, didn't they? And who has a MySpace page now? They got fed up of it and moved on. And yeah, people used to use Facebook, but they got fed up of it and moved on. I wonder if the whole internet will turn out to be a fad. If people will actually get fed up of using the internet and eventually not use it anymore. I wonder. I don't know. So there's a possibility of that, I think. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know what will happen there. Right, I'm just reading the chat again. Christopher says, Andy, yes, the information I found says the phones are N1900s made with alphanumeric bezels with an ETL badge in the middle of the dial. The one for the public use, it looks like a 706, but with a badge in the middle of the dial. Well, it wasn't for public use then, because they would have had a GPO dial label. I think you got some duff information, Christopher. This is the problem. The internet is full of information, but a lot of it is wrong. Particularly on Wikipedia. Joe says, I don't know how else to contact you other than Messenger. Oh, you should be able to get me on Messenger. You should be able to contact me on Messenger, because I do have Facebook Messenger on, but I don't have normal Facebook on. So yeah, Messenger should work. But if you just like type into a Facebook page, that won't work. That won't, because I'd have to log into Facebook for that. But Messenger is always on my phone, because there's various people who do use Messenger, so I have to leave it on. So yeah, Messenger should be on. So you can try Messenger. You're still here then. You're still here after all these hours of waffle. I thought you'd gone to sleep there. You didn't break that windmill earlier, by the way, did you, Joe? I know what you're like for breaking things, and after I'd seen you, it did stop. So, huge windmill, broken again. Bill says, I have my GPO Instagram page. I try and upload every day to my Instagram page. Cool. I've never used Instagram. I've never used TikTok either. Life's too short. Can you imagine me on TikTok? How long's this stream been on now? What? How long have we been on? An hour and 21 minutes. And how long are you allowed to be on a video on TikTok? About 30 seconds, aren't you? So how am I going to do an hour and 21 minute honestly on bloody TikTok? TikTok's useless, isn't it? A video sharing site where your videos can only be 30 seconds. Oh, Fat Hobbit is with us. He says, hello Andy, I'm a bit late to the show tonight. Yeah, you've not really missed anything, Fat Hobbit, to be quite honest with you. It's me just rambling tonight, it seems. Dominic says, you know, I never got around to visiting Heed Windmill when I was living in Belper. Well, you should have done, because it were only down the road. You could almost walk to it from Belper, Dominic. You have to go back now and have a look. We're not back there till next year now. I think we're next there in about May. Jonas said, I did send you a few messages directly on Messenger a few weeks back, so we'll try again. I'm here just doing some bits. My breaking things curse must still be working. Yeah, because that windmill definitely stopped after you went to have a look at it. It definitely did stop. I thought it would because it was not windy, but yeah, you might have broken each windmill. It don't take much breaking that windmill actually. It's often been broken just recently. They've not had much luck with it. With sails going rotten and things like that. They've had to do a lot of work on it recently. Dominic says, I think it would be great if you didn't escape the shed at Sandtoft. Not only have you got the museum, there's also quite a bit of surviving stuff from the old airfield. Yeah, I have been to Sandtoft in the past and walked up the airfield and in amongst all the potato crates and things. Yeah, I have been there. I have been there when they've had big events and things in the summer. Not been for a few years though. It's a bit awkward to get to, isn't it? It's really is properly in the middle of nowhere, Sandtoft. But yes, there are some Escape the Sheds coming up. I'm trying to get one recorded for Halloween, a particularly spooky one for Halloween, and I wanted to get it recorded last year and didn't manage it, and I really do want to get it recorded for this Halloween. So yeah, I'm hoping there's going to be an Escape the Shed on Halloween. I'm hoping, because there's a really good bit of Derbyshire legend about something so gory and gruesome and grisly, it's unreal. In one of the most and it happened in one of the most picturesque little villages in Derbyshire where all the tourists go, and if they knew what had happened, where they now sit and eat their cream teas and sandwiches and that on a Sunday afternoon, if they knew what had happened there a couple of 100 years earlier, they would not be sitting eating their cream teas and sandwiches there. So we're going to try and do that one for Halloween. I'd also like to do something at the General Cemetery in Sheffield, because that is a really oddball place. Video made in the 60s by Ericsson. I saw where I got the information from. But like always with YouTube, you see the video one day, and when you go to look for it again, you can't find it. Yeah, it's a bit like mine that get pulled. No, we can't say that. No, he's criticised Keir Starmer. No, have him removed, have him cancelled immediately. Bill says, Andy, I had another pickup, a 700 coin 1970 mechanical coin machine box. It was a nightmare to find. Or in the end, the guy had to wait at the... Is it my eyesight? Do I need to go to Specsavers? In the end, the guy had to wait at the road but was with picking it up. Sometimes I think I'm in a parallel universe. A 700 coin mechanism. What's a 700 coin mechanism? I'm missing something. What is it? Is a coin box phone a 700? I don't know. Don't know much about payphones, Bills, so you probably know more than me on that one. Christopher says, by the way, Bills, I have an Instagram page. I can't say my Instagram name because YouTube thinks it's a link. It is really stupid the way YouTube doesn't let you put links into things. Bill says, is it just your name, Christopher? Is it Christopher 2000 by any chance? It may be. Spoon Trick says, not being able to find stuff again is why I'm downloading all the videos and channels I find worth keeping. And his streams alone take up over 200 gigabytes. What, each one? Does each one about 200 gig? Yeah. I don't record them. Actually, I don't record. If ever YouTube pulls them, we've lost them all because I don't record them. I've just done so many now. Just to record them, it'd be a nightmare. When we get to like some milestone, then Spoon Tricks. When we get to some big milestone, and we need to edit together a best of reel, I'm nominating you to do it. If you've got them all downloaded. Oh, Joe says, Sheffield General Cemetery. I used to live really close to that on Rundle Road. Nearby to the left, there is a secret passage that takes you down to Tesco on Ecclesall Road. Yeah, there could be actually, couldn't there? Yeah. I've never been down that secret passage, but I can see how the geography of that would work, yeah. Christopher says, did my email come that I sent you at the start of the stream? I don't know, Christopher, I've not looked yet, to be quite honest with you. I've been so engrossed in what I was doing. Shall I have a look and see if any of them have come through? Thing is, they don't always come through while the stream is on. I think it's something to do with bandwidth issues, and there's not enough. Because there's so much data going up, there's not enough room for anything coming down. So, but I'll have a look. Just let me have a little look. See, internet, Thunderbird. Has anybody else got a Thunderbird mail client on their computer for doing their email? And if you have, how disappointed were you when you first opened it and it didn't go right, what have I got here? This all looks different. What the hell's happening with this? Thunderbird has changed. That looks weird all of a sudden. 15th of the 8th. Well, no, it's the 9th now, isn't it? Why am I not seeing anything on there beyond the 15th of the 8th? That's crazy. Get messages. Hmm. 18th of the 8th. 28th of the 8th. Why are messages not coming through on this Thunderbird thing? No clue what is going on there. No, it's not come through, Christopher, because there's something weird happening with the email. And I don't know what it is. But according to this, there's no email actually dropped through onto this computer since the 15th of the 8th, 2025. And I know that's not the case. Right. So where's it all been going since the 15th of the 8th? Because I know it's all been coming through to my phone. Yeah, I've got it on my phone, but not on my computer for some reason. So I will have to look up why it's doing that. But I've got Bill's YouTube talk link. I'll have to look it all up after the event. Yeah, I'll have to find out why it's not coming through onto my computer. It's certainly all arriving on my phone, but not on my computer. So I wonder if it's just downloading it out of the server onto my phone rather than leaving it on the server, which it may be doing. But it's not something I can do while I'm live on here, because it's a bit like trying to do that and I can't. Multitasking is not my greatest thing. Spoon Trick says, I always thought it was impressive how TV programs could find and edit specific clips and lines from TV shows. Well, it's quite easier now because it's not linear anymore. So the editing is non-linear now. So it's quite easy to do it now. But when it was linear, when they were using like pneumatic videotape and that, then it was harder. But the great thing about recording stuff onto discs and even virtual discs, which they do now, is you can play it back from any point while you're still recording. So you don't have to wait for it to stop recording before you can go back and play it back, because the heads are not at a fixed point in relation to each other like they are in a tape machine. Spoon Trick says, I've been searching through archives of episodes for compilations, etc. Yeah, well, they don't actually search through the entire archive. What they do is they have bits that they know about and use them continuously. So, for instance, there'll be there'll be a clip on Alright on the Night of an outtake from Emmerdale or something, and that same outtake from Emmerdale will appear on something else as well, because there's a finite number of people editing these things, and they remember where stuff is, basically. But yeah, you ask them to find something very obscure that you know happened, and they really struggle with it. They really struggle with it. Let's say you won a competition on an episode of Swap Shop in 1982, and you go to one of these film finder companies and say, I won a competition on an episode of Swap Shop in 1982. My name is such and such. Can you find a clip where my postcard got pulled out of the bag? And they'll come up with some excuse why they can't do it, because it's hard. It means they have to watch every episode of Swap Shop to do it. And actually they won't be able to do it now, because most episodes of Swap Shop were recorded over, and it's all Christopher's fault, because they were recorded over by Australian television. Because Swap Shop used to run from 9:30 till 12:30 on a Saturday morning, which means it was 3 hours long, and a roll of 1 inch video runs for about 2 hours, the standard roll. And so Swap Shop used a roll and a bit sort of thing, so it recorded on 2 rolls. And the thing is, because the first roll was a full roll, and it was live, it was never cut, so there were no splicers in the tape. So when Australian television, who had got some old equipment, because they're quite backwards in the TV equipment they had, Australian television, when they wanted some 1 inch tape that you couldn't buy new anymore, they got in touch with the BBC, and the BBC said, yeah, we've got some 1 inch tape in our archives that we want to bin. Do you want to buy it off us? And Australian TV went, yeah. And what it actually was a tape with Swap Shop on, that they'd recorded every Saturday morning, the 2 rolls every Saturday morning, and Australian television taped over nearly all of them. So yeah. So the reason there's no Swap Shop left is all down to Christopher's fellow countrymen, because that's what happened to it. Because a friend of mine, a girl called Kate, won a competition on Swap Shop. When Eric brought the ball down out the ceiling, somebody dipped their hand in the ball and pulled Kate's card out, and I remember that happening. I remember actually watching that when it happened. So I definitely know it happened, and she's got the pride to prove it happened. But there's no tape of it anymore, apparently. But getting a tape out of the BBC is like, well, it's really hard to get a tape out of the BBC. But yeah, there's loads of stuff that you'll never ever see again. There's loads of stuff in the BBC's archive that nobody'll ever see again, because it's degrading so quickly. They don't want you to know it's degrading, though. They don't want you to know about the huge amounts of money they spent on plastic wallets to put all their vinyl LPs in their library into, and then found out that the plastic attacks the vinyl. Christopher says, I don't watch live TV, just old TV shows off YouTube. Yeah, well, you might not be able to do that for much longer. Bill says, I followed you, Christopher. Right, nigga. Yeah, yeah. Videotape is a strange thing. TV archives are a weird thing. And TV archives now are very strange because there is no physical archive there now a lot of the time because it's all digital. I mean, the BBC used to have a library at a place called Windmill Road, and it was what you think it would be. It was a massive building with loads of shelves with film and tapes and audio tape on. But now, where does it all go? And the worry is that when stuff is recorded digitally, it's all encoded into different codecs within MP3 files or within WAV files and things. But as technology moves on, those codecs change. So some of the early MP3s and WAV files now you can't play on your normal computer anymore because you've not got the right codecs to decode them and play them back. So digital is a real problem. Is a real problem. That's why a lot of archives, if they've got anything that they really want to save, they actually still transfer it to film. Because with a film, if the technology lets you down, if you've not got the equipment to play it back anymore, at least you can hold it up to the light and look at it, can't you? Which you can't do with digital stuff. I remember speaking to a camera operator. Well, she was a producer, director, stroke camera operator, multi-talented, from a company called Pulse Films a few years ago, and it was when broadcast cameras were starting to go solid state, and you put like an SD card type thing into them. I don't know if it actually was an SD card, it might have been a compact flash card or something like that, but it was some sort of solid state card that you put into these cameras. And they just got these cameras, and they were a lot smaller and a lot lighter. And she said, yeah, they're hopeless. She said, because if you've gone with David Attenborough and you've gone like up the Zambezi or something, miles from anywhere, and you've got a camera with a videotape in it, if the camera travels up that videotape, then you lose 10 seconds out of that tape that's got travelled up in the camera, but the rest of it's okay. She said, if you go with one of these solid state cameras where it's all on a memory card and something happens and that memory card gets damaged, you lose the whole lot in one fell swoop. There's no recovering it. And they resisted solid state cameras for a long time. And she said actually the old cameras, although they're bigger and heavier, they're actually easier to use because they balance better on your shoulder. These modern cameras are so small they don't reach your shoulder, so all the weight's on the front end on this hand here because there's nothing over the back of your shoulder to balance them. And she said, yeah, the older cameras that took tape are better than the solid state ones. Oh, Gambo's here. Hi, Gambo's. I'm still here watching. He says, picked up a VCR and been promised about 20 plus blank tapes. What sort of VCR is it, Gambo? I'm hoping you're going to say U-matic high band, but I don't think you will. Is it VHS? Is it Betamax? Betamax actually better than VHS. although VHS won the battle of formats, VHS is actually by far the inferior format for recording video. It is, however, quite good. Super VHS is quite good for recording audio, but that's another story. Dominic says, possibly the worst example of archiving I've heard of was the RCA demolishing their archive in the 60s with thousands of rare master recordings going right back to the early days. Yes. Yes. I'm trying to make my memory banks work as to what happened with that. But didn't they knock the building down with all the stuff still in it? I think that's what happened, isn't it, the RCA? There was something about it that it was all out of copyright or something, and they thought they'd not make any money out of it, so it wasn't worth keeping. Something like that. What sort of tapes are they then, Gambo? If you want to see somebody on YouTube who's really good with video machines, you want a channel called Video 99, and he's quite good at repairing the really oddball video machines. Chris says, Andy, did you ever see original GPO Melbourne UK dial cards? Yeah, Melbourne in Derbyshire, you mean? That's a good question. I've got a vague recollection, I might have got one somewhere, Christopher, in a phone, but it is a very vague recollection, because Melbourne is not actually a million miles away from me, so it is quite possible that I've got a phone with one in or that had one in. But where it is, I've got no idea. But yeah, I have seen them, yeah. Dominic says, yeah, you're right about RCA, and less than 10 years later, they had to go back to collectors and plead with them to use their discs for a compilation album. Yeah, well, that happens a lot, doesn't it? The BBC, that's happened a lot with the BBC and Doctor Who. Dominic says, is Video 99 the guy with the Hillman Avenger? Yes, Dominic, a white one. Yeah, that's the same guy, yeah. Yeah, very good cars, Hillman Avenger. My dad used to have one. He had a sort of metallic-y, sort of coppery coloured one, you know. Those were the days. But yeah, lots of stuff that you see on TV now is in shocking quality, and you think, why is it in such bad quality? And that's because they've had to go to somebody who recorded it off air on a VHS machine, because the original high quality masters don't exist anymore. A really good example is the moon landings that the BBC managed to scrap. But yeah, there is so much stuff that doesn't exist anymore. I'm sure I've probably got videotapes with stuff that doesn't exist anymore on them. Because I had a phase of just recording stuff off the TV that I wanted to watch, but then I never recorded over the tape again. I bought a new tape next time I wanted to record something. So I've got a few hundred VHS videotapes from about 1984, 1985 with stuff that went out on air then, like Treasure Hunt. We talked about Treasure Hunt earlier. Treasure Hunt in its first run, I've got copies of it in its first run, you know, when it first went on air. Most of them, I don't think I've got the first series, but I've got series 2 up, I think. Dempsey and Makepeace. Does anybody remember Dempsey and Makepeace? One episode of Dempsey and Makepeace was originally transmitted 3 times. I've got it. It's the one with Susie Quattro in. Bill says, when I was younger, I used to record the Big Brother's best bits. Big Brother's best bits. Bills, did you ever record Big Brother's E-Forum, or what later became Big Brother's Big Mouth? Because if you have got any of those from the, I think it was the 2007 run, have a close look in the panel, in that little studio. Have a close look at the panel of people, because you might see somebody on there you recognise. Dominic says, my dad's first car was an Austin Allegro. Someone tried to steal it once, but gave up and parked it further down the road, lime green. Oh, lovely. Were they the things with the square steering wheel? Did Austin Allegros have, were they the ones with the square steering wheel? Austin Allegros. It kind of got corners on the steering wheel. Really strange. I always wonder how Knight Rider went round a corner, because he got that cut-off steering wheel kit, hadn't he? And if you need to go round a corner, how do you do it? Big Brother. That was in the Elstree days then, Bills. Oh, it may even be in the days when it was at 3 Mills. If it was Big Brother 1, that's when it was at 3 Mills Studios. Never been to 3 Mills. It's a bit weird studios, 3 Mills. It's odd. Joe says, yes, they did have a square steering wheel. My dad had a dark red one. Why would you make a steering wheel square? I couldn't believe it when I first saw one. Look, why on earth would you make a steering wheel square? Who got up in the morning and thought, I can improve the design of a steering wheel, we'll make it square. Yeah. Yeah, I ought to look through some of the videotapes that I've got. I did get some videotapes that allegedly came out of a skip at Elstree once. I didn't get them out of the skip at Elstree. Somebody else got them out of the skip at Elstree. But there doesn't seem to be much of anything on them. And I was hoping there was going to be some like amazing thing for Elstree on them, but there isn't much of anything on them. Yeah. Yes, videotape and that. Yeah, I've got to mend some videotape machines. I have got some pneumatics. I've got some of the very well, I've got 3, I think, very early video machines dating from about 1971. 2 of which are Sony. One of which is JVC, I think. And the size of them is unreal. And the problem with them is, I can't pick them up. They're that heavy. They're that big and heavy. You just can't pick them up. And they take a massive tape that's that wide. It's that wide, it's that deep, it's that thick, the tape. And on that tape is 60 minutes of recording time. It's absolutely insane. Joe says, I love that copy you did for me of the old Sheffield buses going around Sheffield. You got the video from the hole in the road. I put it onto DVD. I did, yeah. There used to be a shop in the hole in the road. There used to be like a little shop that was like run by Sheffield Public Transport Executive, Sheffield PTE, and they were selling this video of old trams and things around Sheffield. I think it's actually on YouTube, or bits of it are on YouTube, I think now. I didn't put them there. Somebody else must have bought it and put them there. But yeah, that was on VHS, wasn't it? Yeah, I must have still got the original of that somewhere. That's like got hundreds of VHS videotapes, hundreds, and that's for shellac records. Because when you used to go to auctions and that a lot, you buy something you wanted at an auction, and you invariably, as part of the lot at the auction, got a load of old records with the lot. So there's something in the lot that you want, but lots of other things come with it, because it's like in a box of stuff, and there'd invariably be a load of old records in it. And I have got hundreds upon hundreds of shellac records, 78s and things, which actually turned out to be really useful, because when I cleared a relative's house out who'd gone into a care home earlier this year, I found out that she, in the corner of one of her rooms, had got a really old mechanical record player. Which took about 10 minutes to get working after it had not played for over 50 years. That's how good it is. Dominic says, I remember helping you wheel them over to the studio in Plesley Vale. What, the records? Was that records? No, it wasn't records. There's not many records at Plesley Vale. What did you wheel over to the studio? Oh, was that the video machines? The big video machines? The U-matic machines? The low band U-matics? Yeah, I think it was the low band U-matics, that. Bill says, I'm off to bed, Andy. I've got work tomorrow. Night, everybody. Thanks for the chat. See you soon, Bills. Ta-ra. Christian says, Andy, I just found the Ericsson 1960s video. I'm going to send it you via email. Yeah, send it, Christopher. I've got to sort the emails out. Something weird's happening with the emails. But it should get at least as far as the server, I would hope. Gambo says, I'm still to repair my gramophone. I got it to work, but need to sort the wooden box out. It's in a wooden box? Cool. Excellent. All very good stuff. Yeah. Right, I think that probably is about a wrap for tonight, because we've been on for nearly 2 hours. Not done much tonight, have I? Just waffled on. But yeah, you've learnt a lot if you've been watching and listening tonight. You've learnt a lot. You've learnt why the BBC has no longer got any episodes of Swap Shop. What else have we learned? We learnt loads of things tonight, haven't we? Yeah. We've learnt where the Methodist movement originated from, thanks to Dominic. And we've learnt that Christopher wants to get one of those Melbourne GPO cards to go in one of his telephones. So if anybody's got a UK Melbourne GPO card, I'm sure you could print one, Christopher. I'm sure you could print one on a, like a laser printer or something. They're not hard to do, because there's only like black, white, and mid grey. So yeah, you'd be able to print one. But yeah, if I find one, I'll let you know. but I've got no clue where I'd be starting to look, to be quite honest with you. If you want to go on a plane and come and have a look, Christopher, and go through them all, you're more than welcome, but be prepared to stay a while if you're going to go through them all. Chris said, Andy, do you have any 746 phones in service? No, not the. Not. Oh, yeah, there is. Yeah, yes, there is. Yes, there is. There's one, not in here, but there's one in another room in the house, an ivory one. Yeah. It's a clever one actually, because it's got a handset with a volume control on it, so you can turn it up and deafen people. But yeah, there is one in service, a 746. But yeah. Yes. So yes, shellac records and that. If you get a broken shellac record, by the way, do not throw the bits away. Because you can melt them down in methylated spirits and turn them into black varnish. Christopher says, I'm planning to come to the UK one day. It'll take you more than a day, Christopher, if you're going to go through all them phones and look for a Melbourne dial card. Probably about 2 months, I would think you might be able to do it in. But yeah, it'll take a bit of doing. I've got no clue what we're going. What I will say is most of the phones here haven't got dial cards in. Most of them seem to arrive with the dial cards removed for some reason. But yeah, most of them don't have the dial cards in. What's that one got in it? That green one that I had earlier. Oh no! Oh, now that one just got an AEI card in it. Where the hell's me thing gone? Yeah, you see, that's just got a private AEI card in it. That one. So I'm not sure that I have got a Melbourne one anywhere, but I have a feeling I might have. Right, anyway, as I was saying, I think that's probably about as far as we can really go today. Chris says, if I do come over, I'll bring my rare N1970B over. What you'll have to do, Christopher, we'll have to figure out a way that we can link. There ought to be a way, if Zoom exists as a thing, there ought to be a way that there is a way actually. There is a way I can link to Australia. Yes, there is a way. There is a way. You could stream from a mobile phone, Christopher, directly into this server, which is how we did the thing from Blackpool a couple of years ago. Dominic and Gambo will know what we're talking about there, because they were involved in that. But yes, you could stream from a phone into this, Christopher. I will talk to you at some point about that. Then I could have a little break while Christopher takes over for half an hour, couldn't I? Yeah, that should be possible to do. But yeah, well, main thing I've got to do is sort my email out and find out why my emails aren't coming through to my computer at the minute. So I have got to do that, and then we will see where it all goes from there. Okay, says Christopher. He's poised and ready to go. Good man. Excellent. Right, anyway, talking of ready to go, it is time to say ta-ra for another week. Thanks to everybody again for taking part in the chat here. I've not really had to do anything. I've got all these things that I'm going to do on this stream tonight, and I've not done any of them because you've all just kept the chat going. So that is absolutely brilliant. Welcome as well to Joe and Joe's mum once again, who I know are watching out there. So welcome to the stream. Apparently, apparently Joe's mum is a big fan, so yeah. Thanks for watching. I'm resisting the thing to do like and subscribe because it drives me absolutely mad. You know, when people go, please like and subscribe on my channel. I'm thinking of being the anti-hero of YouTube and saying, whatever you do, don't subscribe. Don't subscribe, don't hit like, don't subscribe. Just don't do any of that. Because YouTube wants you to, don't do it. Yeah, I'm going to be the anti-YouTube. I'm going to be anti-hero of YouTube, I think. Joe says, thanks Andy, see you soon. Yes, Mum thinks you're amazing. Yeah, I get that a lot. Christmas says, when I call you, I will get my mum to say you, Andy. Yeah, you see, everybody's mum likes me. Everybody's mum likes me. They do, yeah. Yeah. Belinda Carlisle's mum was still alive. I bet she'd like me as well. Belinda Carlisle was at Radio 2 in the Park yesterday. If you've not seen it on the iPlayer yet, go and have a look. Belinda Carlisle, Radio 2 in the Park. Heaven is a place on earth and certainly, no, not certainly in the sand. What else did she do? Leave a light on. She did leave a light on. Don't leave a light on. Joe knows all about Belinda Carlisle. Joe's been to see Belinda Carlisle live. Belinda Carlisle plays my tambourine still to this day. She does, yeah. It's a little known fact that Belinda Carlisle's got 3 tambourines, a black one, a blue one and a white one. The white one came out of Hudson's Music Shop in Chesterfield. I know because I bought it when she was on tour once and she forgot her actual normal black tambourine. The white one's got something written on it. If anybody knows what's written on it, well done. You obviously got a hold of Belinda Carlisle's tambourine because I wrote something on it and it's a secret that nobody knows except for me and Belinda and anybody else who happened to pick the tambourine up over the years. But there you go. Right, anyway, as I was saying, that's about it for today. We will see you all back here around about same time, same place next week. If you're here first, put a stone on the wall. If I'm there first, I'll knock it off. And we will see you next time. But from me, on my return from the now non-working heat windmill, needs to be windy tomorrow to make it go again. Yeah, can you do a wind dance like you can do a rain dance? You know, you can do a wet rain dance to make it rain. Can you do a wind dance to make it windy? Yeah. Everybody's now going, my mum likes watching your stream, Andy. Yeah, I get this a lot, yeah. I wonder how many people have watched this tonight. Since we've come back from the break, there seem to be a lot more people watching for some reason. I don't quite know what's happened. I don't know if it's just that a lot of YouTubers have left and they've got less choice. But, yeah. And by the way, everybody, have you all had to log into YouTube to watch this tonight? Or have any of you managed to watch it without logging in? That's something interesting I'd like to know. Because YouTube won't let me do anything without logging in now. And I hate logging into things. I absolutely hate logging in. Yeah. Right, anyway, I'll leave you with that thought and we will see you back here same time, same place next week. It's now 6:02 AM apparently in Australia. Perhaps it's bedtime. Christopher, before we go, how's the job going? Have you started yet? So I've got to wait for the delay now. Never do a game show between Britain and Australia, particularly if you've got a fastest finger first round, because Australia will always lose because of the delay. Have you started yet, Christopher? No? Yeah? Maybe? Perhaps? I don't think he has actually. Because for those who weren't around last week, Christopher's got a new job at the Railway Museum, I believe. Says I start at the end of the month, so end of this month, end of September then. Right, so you've got a few more weeks yet. So yeah. Right. Okay, brilliant. Right, we will see you all next time. Have a fantastic week ahead. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Unless you happen to see Keir Starmer, then you can do what the hell you like to him. And I will see you here, same time, same place, next week. There's going to be 3 armed police now come through this door and arrest me for hurty words about Keir Starmer. What's the difference between Keir Starmer and Santa Claus?